Today is difficult. Tomorrow is much more difficult. The day after tomorrow is beautiful. Most people die tomorrow evening.
What if I told you that the difference between you and a billionaire is not money, not connections, not luck, but a pattern of thinking so subtle that most people never even notice it? Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is building something that will be worth billions in the next decade. They are not necessarily the smartest person in the room. They are not the most privileged. They do not have perfect conditions. What they have is a different lens, a different mental operating system, a different way of interpreting failure, risk, time, and opportunity. And that is what we are about to decode. Because wealth at the highest level is never accidental, it is psychological. Before the bank account expands, the mind expands. Before influence grows, belief grows. Before the world sees success, there is an invisible transformation happening inside the way a person thinks. Most people are trapped in survival thinking. They calculate expenses. They worry about stability. They seek comfort. They react to circumstance. But there is another level of thinking. A level where problems look like possibilities, where failure looks like feedback, where time is measured in decades, not days. Level where vision is stronger than fear. This is not about copying someone's lifestyle. It is about understanding someone's mindset. Because if you try to copy the results without understanding the psychology, you will always feel behind. But if you understand the psychology, you can create your own results. Think about it. Why do some people see opportunity in chaos, while others see only crisis? Why do some people take rejection as motivation, while others take it as proof to quit? Why do some build empires from nothing, while others stay stuck with everything? The answer is thinking. In this video, we are not going to talk about surface level motivation. We are going deeper. We are breaking down the mental frameworks that separate average ambition from extraordinary achievement. The way billionaires approach time, the way they interpret failure, the way they look at problems, the way they act when the world doubts them. And here is the truth. Once you see this pattern, you cannot unsee it. You will start noticing how small your current thinking might be. You will start questioning your own limits. You will realize that the biggest barrier was never your background. It was your perspective. So stay with me until the end, because what you are about to understand is not just about money. It is about power, creative power, strategic power, psychological power. And once you shift the way you think, the way you live will never be the same again. Most people are trained to think in days. Some people learn to think in months. A rare few discipline themselves to think in years. But the individuals who build empires, who reshape industries, who create impact that outlives them, they think in decades. That is the difference. When someone thinks short term, their decisions are driven by immediate rewards. They ask, what will I gain today? How fast can I see results? Or how quickly can I make money? Their motivation rises and falls with quick wins. If something doesn't produce results in a few weeks or months, they abandon it. Their energy is tied to instant gratification. But a billionaire mindset operates differently. It asks, what will this look like in 10 years? If I build this patiently, what can it become? They are not obsessed with speed. They are obsessed with direction. They understand that greatness compounds. Just like interest in a bank account, effort compounded over time becomes unstoppable. Long-term thinking changes your relationship with patience. Most people see patience as waiting. Billionaires see patience as strategic endurance. They are not passive. They are building quietly while others are distracted by trends. While the world chases viral moments, they build systems. While others chase applause, they build assets. While others seek attention, they build foundation. A short-term thinker focuses on income. A long-term thinker focuses on value creation. Income is temporal. Value is scalable. If you chase income alone, you will always work for the next payment. But if you build value, skills, networks, reputation, systems, you create something that pays you repeatedly over time. Long-term thinkers are comfortable sacrificing today for tomorrow. They delay pleasure. They invest in learning when others are partying. They invest in relationships when others are competing. They invest in infrastructure when others are decorating the surface. This discipline separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Think about a tree. If you plant a seed today and dig it up every week to check its growth, it will never grow. Yet that is what short-term thinking does. It plants an idea, expects immediate results, and if growth is not visible quickly, it gives up. Long-term thinkers understand that roots grow first, and roots grow in silence. They are willing to work for years without recognition. They are willing to build something that might not pay off immediately. They understand that the market rewards consistency over time, not bursts of enthusiasm. The world respects those who stay when others quit. Long-term thinking also shapes how they handle challenges. When a problem appears, short-term thinkers panic because they only see the present loss. Long-term thinkers zoom out. They ask, will this matter in 5 years? Often the answer is no. That perspective protects their emotional stability. They do not react impulsively, they respond to its teaching. Because they think long-term, they invest differently. They invest in people, they invest in culture, they invest in innovation, they invest in education. These investments do not always show immediate financial return, but over time they create exponential results. They build ecosystems, not transactions. Short-term thinking is emotional. Long-term thinking is rational. When you operate short-term, fear and excitement control you. When you operate long-term, vision controls you. Vision gives clarity during chaos. Vision keeps you moving when results are invisible. Long-term thinkers also understand compounding in personal growth. Reading one book will not change your life. Reading 100 books over years will. Exercising 1 week will not transform your body. Exercising consistently for 5 years will. Posting one video may not build an audience. Posting consistently for years will build influence. They understand that small daily actions, repeated relentlessly, create extraordinary outcomes. They measure progress differently. Instead of asking, did I win today? They ask, am I better than I was last year? That shift changes everything. Growth becomes the goal, not applause. This mindset also makes them resilient. When you expect overnight success, every delay feels like failure. When you expect a 10-year journey, delays feel normal. You stop being discouraged by slow progress because you plan for it. You understand that mastery takes time, trust takes time, breadth takes time, leadership takes time. Long-term thinkers do not chase trends blindly. They analyze whether something aligns with their vision. If it does not fit the long-term plan, they ignore it, even if it looks attractive. Discipline means saying no to opportunities that distract from your ultimate goal. They are also comfortable being misunderstood. In the early stages of a long-term vision, others cannot see what you see. People may doubt you. They may question your decisions. But if you are anchored in long-term thinking, you are not shaken by temporary opinions. You are guided by conviction, not validation. Another powerful effect of long-term thinking is freedom from desperation. When you think short-term, you act from urgency and scarcity. You make rush decisions. You accept poor partnerships. You compromise your standards. But when you think long-term, you choose carefully. You are not trying to win immediately. You are trying to win permanently. This mindset transforms leadership as well. Leaders who think short-term focus on quarterly results. Leaders who think long-term focus on building a sustainable organization. They care about the next generation. They care about legacy. They ask, what will remain after I am gone? Ultimately, thinking long-term is thinking beyond yourself. It is understanding that real wealth is built slowly. It is recognizing that foundations matter more than fireworks. It is choosing discipline over impulse, consistency over intensity, and vision over vanity. If you want to think like those who build billion-dollar empires, start by stretching your timeline. Stop asking what will happen this week. Start asking what you want your life to look like in 10 years. Then align your actions accordingly. Because the truth is simple. The future belongs to those who prepare for it long before it arrives. Most people chase money. Billionaire thinkers chase problems. This is one of the biggest mindset shifts that separates ordinary ambition from extraordinary impact. The average person asks, how can I make more money? But those who build massive wealth ask a different question. What problem can I solve that truly matters? That single shift changes everything. When you chase money directly, your thinking becomes limited. You look for shortcuts. You look for trends. You look for opportunities that promise quick returns. Your focus narrows to profit margins, transactions, and immediate gain. But when you chase problems, your thinking expands. You begin observing the world differently. You start noticing inefficiencies, frustrations, gaps in systems, unmet needs in people's lives. You become curious about pain points rather than paychecks. Money is a reward, problems are opportunity. Every large fortune in history was built on solving a large problem. Not a small inconvenience, not a temporary hype, a real, persistent, frustrating problem that affected millions or billions of people. The bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. The deeper the pain, the greater the value of the solution. When someone falls in love with solving problems, they become obsessed with understanding people. They study behavior. They listen carefully. They ask questions. They analyze patterns. They care about what keeps people awake at night. Because to solve a problem well, you must understand it deeply. This mindset also creates resilience. When you chase money and you don't see profit immediately, you feel discouraged. But when you chase a meaningful problem, setbacks feel like part of the mission. You're not motivated only by income. You're motivated by impact. That deeper motivation gives you strength during hard times. Problem-focused thinkers also understand something powerful. Money flows toward solutions. If you remove pain, create convenience, save time, reduce cost, increase efficiency, or improve quality of life, money naturally follows. It becomes a byproduct of usefulness. Think about it this way. If you help one person solve a small problem, you may earn a small reward. If you help 1 million people solve a major problem, the reward multiplies. Wealth is often proportional to the scale of the problem solved. When you fall in love with problems, you stop fearing them. Most people run away from problems. They complain about them. They blame them. But billionaires lean into them. They ask, why does this problem exist? Why hasn't it been solved yet? Can it be solved better? They treat problems like puzzles waiting to be mastered. This shift also changes your creativity. When your goal is money, your ideas are often shallow. But when your goal is solving something meaningful, your brain works differently. You experiment, you innovate, you take calculated risks. You try new approaches because the mission matters more than comfort. Another powerful aspect of this mindset is long-term sustainability. Businesses built purely around making money often collapse when trends change. But businesses built around solving real problems endure. Why? Because human needs remain. As long as the problem exists, the solution will be valuable. Problem-focused thinkers are also less distracted by comparison. When you chase money, you constantly look at what others are earning. You measure yourself against competitors. But when you chase solutions, you are focused on improvement. Your competition is not another person. It is the problem itself. Your goal is not to beat someone else. Your goal is to build something better. This mindset also encourages humility. To solve a problem effectively, you must admit you don't know everything. You must listen to feedback. You must adjust. You must test and refine. Ego becomes an obstacle. Curiosity becomes your greatest strength. There is also a psychological advantage. Money as a primary motivator is fragile. When profits drop, motivation drops. But purpose is powerful. When you believe you're solving something important, you wake up energized. Even when revenue is slow, you're uncertain. You continue because the mission matters. Because the mission matters, problem solvers also think bigger. They do not ask, what can I sell? They ask, what can I improve? That difference leads to innovation. Instead of competing in crowded markets with identical products, they create new markets by addressing unmet needs. When you begin to love problems, you develop patience. You understand that meaningful solutions require time. You research, you build, you test, you fail, you refine, you keep going. because you're committed to excellence, not just income. Another key difference is that problem-focused thinkers aim for scale. They ask, can this solution help thousands? Millions. They design systems, platforms, technologies, or networks that expand impact. They do not think small because the problem they are solving is not small. This mindset also builds trust. When people see that your focus is on helping, not exploiting, customers become loyal. Teams become committed. Investors become confident. Trust is built when your intention is clear. To create value first, if you want to develop this way of thinking, start by observing frustrations around you. What annoys people daily? What wastes their time? What costs them money unnecessarily? What causes stress? Inside every complaint is a business opportunity. Inside every inconvenience is potential innovation. Instead of asking, how can I get rich? Start asking, how can I be useful at scale? Usefulness attracts wealth. Service attracts success. Value attracts income. When you truly fall in love with solving problems, money becomes secondary. And ironically, that is when it grows the fastest. Because you are no longer chasing it desperately. You are building something meaningful. You are creating impact, and the market rewards impact. In the end, wealth is not created by desire alone. It is created by contribution. The size of your success will always be connected to the size of the problem you solve. So train your mind to see problems not as obstacles, but invitations to think deeper, to innovate, to serve, to build something that matters. Because the ones who build the greatest fortunes are not the ones who loved money the most. They are the ones who loved solving meaningful problems so deeply that money had no choice but to follow. Most people experience failure as a wound. Billionaire thinkers experience failure as information. That difference alone changes the trajectory of a life. When the average person fails, they take it personally. They say, I am not good enough. Maybe this is not for me. Maybe I should quit. Failure attacks their identity. It becomes emotional. It becomes heavy. It becomes something to avoid at all costs. But those who build extraordinary success see failure differently. To them, failure is not an identity. It is data. It is feedback. It is a result that simply says, this method did not work. Nothing more. Nothing less. When you remove emotion from failure, you unlock power. Think about a scientist running experiments in a laboratory. If one experiment fails, the scientist does not cry and quit science. They analyze what went wrong. They adjust variables. They test again. Every failed attempt provides information that increases the probability of success in the next attempt. Billionaire thinkers approach business, innovation, and life in the same way. They expect failure, not because they are negative, but because they understand growth. When you attempt something new, something big, something innovative, mistakes are inevitable. Failure is simply the cost of learning at a higher level. Most people try to avoid failure. Billionaire thinkers try to minimize the cost of failure. That is an important difference. They know failure will happen, so they test small, learn fast, and adapt quickly. They do not bet everything blindly. They experiment strategically. Emotion makes failure feel permanent. Data makes failure temporary. When you see failure as data, you ask better questions. Instead of, why am I so bad at this? You ask, what specifically didn't work? Instead of, should I quit? You ask, what can I improve? The focus shifts from self-doubt to problem solving. This mindset builds resilience. If every failure damages your confidence, you'll stop trying. But if every failure increases your knowledge, you will keep moving. Over time, that persistence compounds into mastery. There is another powerful effect of treating failure as feedback. Speed. When you are not afraid of failing, you move faster. You launch sooner, you test ideas quickly. You gather real-world results, while others are stuck in perfectionism. Waiting for the perfect moment, you are already learning from reality. Perfectionism often hides fear. People delay action because they want to avoid looking foolish. But billionaire thinkers understand that the market rewards execution, not perfection. They would rather launch imperfectly and improve than wait forever and miss the opportunity. Failure also refines vision. Not every idea deserves success. Some failures protect you from pursuing the wrong path for too long. When you treat failure as information, you can pivot intelligently. You can adjust direction without destroying your confidence. Another key aspect of this mindset is emotional control. Billionaire thinkers separate self-worth from outcomes. A failed project does not mean they are failures. A rejected proposal does not define their value. They understand that identity must remain stable, even when results fluctuate. If your identity depends on success, you will live in fear. But if your identity is grounded in growth, failure becomes part of the process. This way of thinking also encourages innovation. If you are afraid to fail, you will only choose safe ideas. You will copy others. You will stay in comfort zones. But innovation requires risk. It requires stepping into the unknown. And the unknown always carries the possibility of failure. Those who build billion-dollar outcomes often have long histories of failed attempts. But each failure sharpened their strategy. Each rejection strengthened their communication. Each mistake improved their systems. What looks like overnight success is usually the result of years of invisible corrections. Failure is a teacher, but only if you listen. When something fails, instead of reacting emotionally, analyze it calmly. What assumptions were wrong? What did customers actually want? What part of the execution was weak? What could be optimized? When you treat every outcome like a lesson, you transform setbacks into stepping stones. There is also a psychological advantage in expecting failure. When you anticipate obstacles, you are not shocked by them. You plan contingency. You prepare mentally. You remain composed when challenges appear. This calmness gives you an advantage over competitors who panic under pressure. Seeing failure as data also protects creativity. Many talented people stop creating because they fear criticism. But billionaire thinkers understand that feedback, even negative feedback, is valuable information. Criticism reveals blind spots. Market rejection reveals misalignment. Every reaction contains insight. Another powerful principle is iteration. Rarely does a great product, business, or idea emerge perfectly the first time. It evolves. Version 1 becomes version 2, then version 10. Improvement is continuous. Failure is simply part of refinement. If you look closely, every major breakthrough in history followed countless failed attempts. The difference was not luck. It was persistence guided by learning. This mindset also builds courage. When you know failure will not destroy you, you take bold actions. You negotiate bigger deals. You attempt ambitious projects. You aim higher. Courage expands opportunity. But this way of thinking requires discipline. It requires controlling ego. Ego wants to be right. Ego hates being wrong. But growth requires admitting mistakes quickly. The faster you admit you are wrong, the faster you can correct course. In the end, failure is neutral. It has no meaning until you assign one. You can interpret it as proof that you are incapable. Or you can interpret it as information guiding you closer to success. Billionaire thinkers choose the second interpretation. They understand that success is rarely a straight line. It is a series of adjustments, a series of lessons, a series of recalibrations. Each mistake reduces uncertainty. Each failure increases clarity. So instead of fearing failure, train yourself to extract value from it. Review your losses, study your errors, ask better questions, strengthen skills, try again, because the only real failure is refusing to learn. When you begin to see failure not as an enemy, but as a teacher, you remove its power to stop you. You become unstoppable, not because you never fall, but because every fall makes you smarter. And over time, intelligence built from experience becomes wisdom. Wisdom becomes strategy. Strategy becomes success. That is how those who think differently turn setbacks into stepping stones and transform data into destiny. Most people allow their circumstances to decide their future. Billionaire thinkers allow their vision to decide their actions. There is a powerful difference between reacting to reality and creating reality. When someone lives based on circumstances, they constantly look around before they move. They ask, do I have enough money? Is the economy stable? Or do I have connections? Or what if people reject? Their decisions are controlled by the present environment. If conditions look difficult, they shrink their ambition. But those who build extraordinary success operate from vision, not conditions. Vision is the ability to see what does not yet exist. It is the courage to believe in a future that others cannot see. When you act from vision, your current situation becomes temporary. It becomes a starting point, not a limit. Circumstances are temporary. Vision is direction. If you base your decisions only on what you have today, you will never create more than what you already possess. If you only act when conditions are perfect, you will wait forever. Perfect conditions rarely exist. Markets fluctuate. Resources are limited. Competition is constant. Doubt is inevitable. If billionaires waited for comfort, they would never build anything significant. They understand that circumstances are often misleading. Many great opportunities are hidden inside chaos. Economic downturns create gaps in markets. Technological disruptions create new industries. Social changes create new demands. When others panic because circumstances look bad, visionary thinkers look for possibilities. Vision also gives courage. When you deeply believe in where you are going, temporary hardship feels smaller. You endure criticism. You tolerate uncertainty. You work through obstacles because you see something bigger than the present moment. Without vision, difficulty feels unbearable. With vision, difficulty feels meaningful. Teza, acting based on circumstances is reactive. Acting based on vision is proactive. Reactive people adjust their dreams according to their resources. Visionary people expand their resources according to their dreams. This is a mindset shift. Instead of saying, I don't have enough to start, they ask, how can I build what I need? Instead of saying, the market is too competitive, they ask, how can I differentiate? Instead of saying, no one believes in me, they say, I believe in myself enough to begin. Vision creates internal stability. When the external world is unstable, your internal clarity becomes your anchor. Markets can crash, people can doubt, plans can fail. But if your long-term direction remains clear, you will keep adjusting until you reach it. This mindset also allows long-term thinking to function properly. When you focus on vision, you are less distracted by short-term noise. Daily fluctuations do not control your mood. Social media trends do not control your decisions. Temporary losses do not control your identity. But you measure progress by alignment with vision, not by daily applause. Another powerful effect of vision-based thinking is leadership. People are not inspired by circumstances. They are inspired by belief. If you lead based on fear of current conditions, your team will feel insecure. But if you lead with clarity about where you are going, others will follow your confidence. Vision creates alignment. It creates momentum. Circumstances often test commitment. When challenges appear, those without strong vision quit, but those with deep conviction adapt. They change strategies, not goals. They may pivot their method, but they protect their mission. Vision also stretches capacity. When you aim higher than your capabilities, you are forced to grow. New goals require new skills. Bigger dreams demand stronger discipline. Acting from vision pushes you beyond comfort. Acting from circumstances keeps you within limits. Many people underestimate themselves because they measure their future by their present situation. But your current reality is simply the result of past actions and beliefs. If you change your thinking and behavior consistently, your future reality can look completely different. Billionaire thinkers understand that belief precedes achievement. You must mentally own the future before you physically reach it. If you cannot imagine it, you cannot build it. Vision creates psychological ownership of success long before it becomes visible. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means interpreting reality differently. Visionary thinkers acknowledge their challenges, but they do not bow to them. They treat limitations as design problems to solve. Lack of money becomes a reason to innovate. Lack of connections becomes a reason to network strategically. Lack of experience becomes a reason to learn aggressively. Another key difference is risk tolerance. When you act based on circumstances, risk feels dangerous because you are protecting what little you have. When you act based on vision, risk feels necessary because you are pursuing something greater. You calculate risk carefully, but you are not paralyzed by it. Vision also creates consistency. When your actions are tied to a larger purpose, motivation becomes less emotional. You do not wake up asking whether you feel inspired. You wake up remembering where you are going. Discipline replaces mood. Circumstances change daily. Vision remains stable over time. This mindset protects you from comparison as well. If you constantly measure yourself against others' current success, you may feel discouraged. But if you measure yourself against your own long-term vision, you stay focused on your path. You understand that journeys are different, timelines are different, starting points are different. Vision-based thinkers also prepare for the future before it arrives. They study trends. They anticipate shifts. They invest in skills that will matter tomorrow, not just today. While others react after change happens, they position themselves in advance. There is also emotional strength in vision. When you know why you are building something, criticism loses power. People may not understand your direction. They may question your ambition. But clarity gives you resilience. You do not seek validation from those who cannot see what you see. Ultimately, betting on vision means betting on possibility. It means refusing to let your background define your destination. It means understanding that today's limitations do not determine tomorrow's achievements. Your starting point does not decide your ending point. Your belief does. If you want to think like those who build extraordinary wealth, begin by designing a compelling vision for your future. Make it specific. Make it meaningful. Make it bigger than your current comfort. Then align your daily actions with that vision, regardless of circumstances.